ever since I picked up the ancient girl at my doorstep. Garrick Chu feels more and more like an NPC. He is trying hard to help the protagonist integrate into modern society. This afternoon, I took out a mobile phone and handed it to the girl. The girl hesitantly asked, "Is this mobile phone expensive?" However, this is just me getting a supplementary card. The phone is just a gift for recharging. Wait until you are proficient before I buy you a second-hand laptop. With these two things, you can understand the world faster. The girl just took the phone. She looked at it carefully and shyly thanked me in the end. But she still has some worries. Will the recent payment be enough if you keep buying things for me like this? But I smiled knowingly. Isn't this considered as borrowing from you? Are you trying to make me owe more intentionally? So that I have no way to repay and have to offer myself to you later. Aw, how did you know that? But she instantly darkened her face. Do you know the simplest way to repay kindness? Then she gestured at her neck. You die. Then there's no need to repay. But the man in front of her was not afraid at all. Instead, he covered his mouth. Evermore Qiu opened his mouth to argue, but in his heart, it felt like a small pebble had dropped. She deliberately put on a look of disdain. Why do I have to be your Evermore Qiu? I didn't respond. Just quietly told her, "Give me your hand," before she had time to react. I grabbed her delicate hand. She instinctively wanted to break free, but looking at the man in front of her, her body suddenly lost control. What are you trying to do, you scoundrel? But I just casually took out a pen and scribbled down a few numbers in the palm of her hand. Remembered? That's your phone number. A blush quickly climbed up her cheeks. But she looked down at the crooked numbers in her palm. She was getting closer to leaving this world. There is only one name in the contact list. Even his own number is listed behind it. Although he is not wealthy, he has always been determined to help me. And there is that sentence. That's my Evermore Qiu. Qiu doesn't understand what this kind of touch in his heart is all about. Clearly, emotions are a major taboo for immortal cultivators. But every time she sees Garrick Chu, exhausted and working tirelessly, she can't help but want to do something for him. If one day you suddenly leave without saying goodbye, wouldn't that be a bit inappropriate? But I came to this world knowing nothing at all. I'd better help him make some delicious food. Thinking of this, she was about to go out to buy groceries. But I stopped her. We modern people basically don't use cash. It's what you often call cash reserve notes. This thing is called WeChat. We usually use it to buy things. But first, you have to choose an ID for yourself. What is an ID? It's like how your ancient poet Li Bai had the pen name Tai Bai. However, she racked her brain for a long time and couldn't come up with anything. The ID eventually, unconsciously, became Water Follows Sky and Evermore Autumn. Water is her, and sky might refer to Sky Song Chu, so water follows the sky. Why is her mind filled with this man she has only known for 2.5 days? She slowly got up. Where can I buy recipes? Take me to find some. But I pointed to her phone. Nowadays, with smartphones and computers, you can search online for any dish you want to make. Seeing her puzzled expression, I indicated that there are many food-related live streams and videos available as well. Once you get the hang of it, you'll become a modern person. But she leaned closer to my ear and said, "Teach me." Meanwhile, in the neighborhood, a figure kept a close eye on the windowsill of my home. Then the dark figure miraculously merged with the wall. The ancient girl that ran out from this book is now in a panic. She always feels like she and Garrick Chu are not so clear about themselves. Even colleagues have started to doubt the relationship between the two. Obviously, she is not his little wife. Why do I always have to help him with these household chores? She couldn't help but soften her heart when she saw the man gobbling up the food. As long as he likes it, that's all that matters. Just consider it as repaying his rent. I am typing rapidly at this moment. Due to the forced changes made by the younger sister earlier, There isn't much plot related to the protagonist Skysong Chu anymore. But I describe Evermore Qiu in more detail. Just because once in my mind was the protagonist, the second-dimensional wife of the conception. Now she is washing clothes and cooking for me in the hall. Just then, a message flashed on my phone. And I was so scared that I broke out in a cold sweat. Because that was the message sent by the editor. Generally, this kind of situation means a new book. It is a notification before being forcefully taken down. I only realized after opening it that I actually got featured on the platform. Even after I let myself go, the usually aloof editing team started to follow my work more closely. Even the writer roommate, who had been missing for months, suddenly contacted me. I was just about to catch up with him. But he responded with an emoji. "You must be busy dating. I saw you out shopping with a beautiful woman. Bring her out for the brothers to meet next time. Is this kid working nearby?" I was just about to change the subject, but he warned me to be careful of the thieves in the neighborhood. Before I could ask further, a familiar voice came from behind me. "Time to eat." Those simple 3 words shattered all my thoughts. "What's wrong? Look at you, grinning from ear to ear." She made a gesture as if to hit me. But I burst into laughter. My book was pushed on the platform. You can roughly understand that I have also been granted entry into the library of scriptures by the Sect. It means that the treatment given to the protagonist is now being bestowed upon you. I blinked and looked at her without saying anything. She was originally happy for me. But on second thought, isn't she about to become Garrick Chu's possession? Letcher actually had a scheme against me from the beginning. Seeing that the atmosphere was not right, I quickly lowered my head and focused on eating. But I blurted out in a moment of desperation, "Wife, the food today is really delicious." I saw her put down her chopsticks and bowl. It seemed like things turned frosty. But she pretended like she didn't hear anything. "I will harness the yang energy of noon to cultivate for a while. Please do not disturb me unless it's urgent." After she returned to her room, her mind started spinning rapidly. What's wrong with this guy? Does he want to trick me into becoming his daughter-in-law? I won't do it. And just as she was lost in her wild thoughts, a figure gradually emerged behind her. A thin man in black appeared in the doorway holding a dagger. But after taking a look around, his gaze could no longer move away from the stunning beauty in front of him. Although he had mistaken the person, it was undoubtedly a pleasant surprise. Just as the pervert reached out his thieving hand, the beauty on the bed coldly opened her eyes. Who would have thought a gentle and lovely ancient girl would appear in front of me? But she shows no mercy to outsiders. In less than 2.5 minutes, she beat the pervert into a pig's head. Evermore Qiu made lunch for me that day. She was just about to take advantage of the noon sun to cultivate for a while. A pervert appeared behind her. The pervert wants to do something to the girl. But the girl closed her eyes. Just because this level of petty thief is nothing but an ant in her eyes. At this moment, I also swung the broom. "Are you okay?" But she smiled at me. "Whom are you asking?" I then realized immediately. Be cautious of life in front of Evermore Qiu. Safety should be for the clever thieves. No matter how much she lowers herself, she is still a fragment of the soul of an immortal cultivator, a top powerhouse. But Chor is a bit confused. This guy just walked in without knocking. How did you sense him? I said I sleep lightly. But she simply doesn't believe my explanation. Clearly, she has been keeping an eye on the next door, and still she's lying. But when she looks at the man, a warm feeling emerges in her heart again. A stinky writer who couldn't even subdue a chicken with one hand. She rushed in with a broom in hand for the first time. She reached out and poked my arm. How could she catch a thief when she's so weak herself? Look, the person has a knife in hand. Are they not afraid of death? At this moment, the little thief on the ground also woke up from unconsciousness. But the next second, he was left in tears with no desire to cry. The terrifying woman was earnestly questioning me. She asked how thieves are dealt with here. Can they be killed on the spot, or do they need to be handed over to the authorities? This is the 21st century. It's not common to execute justice on the spot. Besides, even in ancient times, weren't criminals first interrogated before execution? Choer's palm was once again surrounded by electric light. I can see that this guy is unwilling to talk. Let's extract his soul first. The next second, the pervert directly knelt to the ground. Please spare me. I can explain myself. Choer's eyes instantly turned cold. Where did your ability to walk through walls come from? The man, however, looked confused. Why are you asking this? Shouldn't you be asking me why I'm here? But he saw the murderous intent growing in the woman's eyes. He expressed that this ability to walk through walls was awakened by himself. And many people have it too. A tinge of panic flashed through my heart. It seems that the worst-case scenario I had anticipated has happened. But how come I, having lived for almost 30 years, didn't know that some people have awakened? He said that they all have their own circles. It's normal that ordinary people don't know. If you had the ability to walk through walls, you'd just be a thief. The circle is quite high-end. He didn't respond. Choa glanced at me. Her fingertips sparkled with a terrifying light. The man quickly begged for mercy, saying he was just here to find someone. He is lying. Beat him. Evermore Qiu didn't immediately realize why I could determine he was lying. But since Garrick Chu said so, she instinctively slapped him. She dared to talk back even when facing death. The interrogation scene was like hell. But even though I enjoyed watching, I can't help but break out in a cold sweat. This mother Tyrannosaurus Rex is too violent. It's really lucky that I wasn't killed before. Could it be that she didn't want to hit me? Ancient girl earns money for the first time. She did it to pay the rent for a man. Clearly, she only earns a monthly salary of 3,000 yuan from writing books. But faced with this large sum of money, I felt worried. It is precisely because this cash was robbed by Choa. Although this kind of thing is common in her world, it's no big deal. Moreover, it was this black-clad little thief who broke in first. But the police in the real world are not so easily fooled. Evermore Qiu nearly beat the little thief to death that day. Lecher not only wants to kill people, but also wants to sell stolen goods. And he even dares to covet the beauty of our sect master. Under the severe torture of Choer to extract a confession. The man had no choice but to confess the truth. He originally wanted to follow Moon's shadow, but accidentally entered Choer's room. And I instantly realized that she was the female streamer next door. I didn't expect her to be a timid and socially phobic otaku girl in front of others. Her true identity, however, is an underground boxer. She has even committed taboos due to too many killings. My head is buzzing. There really are black boxing killers these days. And she's a beautiful girl. She even lives right across from me. Previously, I even fantasized about her job with my roommate. If she finds out, I might get chopped into pieces. But Choer brought her head closer and asked, "What are you thinking?" Fortunately, I reacted in time. This kind of thing cannot be known by the mother tiger. I was thinking if you could erase this guy's memory, and then hand him over to the police. She hesitated for a moment. Why not go see their circle? Seeing that I did not respond for a long time, she turned around again. Well, I'll listen to you. But I started to think. According to her thoughts, she should want to actively get involved in that circle. And it's not difficult to solve her so-called identity issue within the criminal underworld. No matter how you say it, it's much more meaningful than her domestic life and daily necessities with me. But for some reason, I have a different kind of emotion. I don't want to break this kind of life. But the next moment, the little rogue was slapped by Choer. I have been trapped by worldly possessions for so long. Endured without stealing, yet someone still came to offer. Hurry up and take out all the valuable items on your body. She looked at the handful of coins plundered. She couldn't help but be a little curious. Is this the silver note of your world? She had a proud look on her face. That sounds good then. It earns faster than writing books. In this way, I can pay you back. I said I could earn a lot? Let's go then. I'll go deal with him. But my heart is sweating coldly. Why are you so skilled at doing this kind of thing? Well, fortunately, encountering Choer is manageable for this type of thief. If it was an ordinary person, they would be in trouble. It's better to leave this kind of troublemaker to the police. Walking on the way back home, she suddenly turned around. Why is she so dejected? Is it because I took something of hers? I shook my head. It's because I'm worried about you. It's actually quite satisfying to teach this little thief a lesson. But there are a lot of rules in our world. Your spell hasn't fully recovered yet. What if someone seeks revenge? I don't want to lose you. Her eyelids drooped down. She remained speechless for a long time. Why is this guy being so concerned about me? Is he trying to deceive me into becoming his daughter-in-law? But I just sighed quietly. After all, I am just an ordinary person who has lived a plain life for more than 20 years. I also wish I could have the ability to protect you like a hero. Unfortunately, I can't do it. Choa frowned dissatisfied. You've even managed to deceive the first cultivator into cooking for you at home. And you still claim to be an ordinary person. You are right. But it's not my ability to come out of the book either. But she suddenly showed an angry look. I do not allow my partner to call themselves a waste. But the atmosphere suddenly froze the next moment. Choa realized he had said the wrong thing. What the hell am I saying? Fortunately, the distant sound of a police siren interrupted their thoughts. And I saw a familiar figure in the crowd. My college roommate Marcius Lin. How could he be here? This guy studied Chinese language and literature. Even if it's about police duty, it's not his turn as a civilian. Why did he appear at the crime scene? I didn't expect him to notice me in the crowd. Taking advantage of Evermore Qiu's moment of distraction, I stepped forward. He didn't ask me about the main issue either. Is the person next to you your girlfriend? I was about to explain. But then, I realized that his police identity might cause some trouble. I had no choice but to nod in agreement. However, he seemed to have something on his mind. Just warned me to be careful recently. During this period, life has not been very peaceful. Thieves and burglars are everywhere. I watched them leave. But when I came back to my senses, Evermore Qiu's figure was nowhere to be seen. Just as I was puzzled, suddenly, her voice came from behind. I just used the invisibility spell. I could hear all your conversation. He just asked you if I am your girlfriend. Why didn't you deny it? I was a little scared that she would get angry, so I quickly explained. I am also afraid that the police will come looking for us. It's better to avoid trouble. After all, I have no abilities at all. But she actively approached me. Have you ever thought about it? You may have inadvertently awakened abilities. It's just that you don't know it yet. I was stunned for a moment. Could it be the materialization of imagination? Just like you are something I imagined. But she just lightly bites her lip, bows her head, walks without answering. Even the distance between us grows further and further apart. Maybe I should also cultivate well. Who knows, I may be a genius like you. Wait, why aren't you saying anything? Ancient girl secretly opens her boyfriend's computer. She intended to check how to cook. But the next second, she exploded in anger. It turns out that inside are hundreds of learning materials by Garrick Chu, all starting with the letter G. Even strange people wearing strange things doing strange things. But Choer became curious. After making sure that there was no one around, she secretly glanced at Garrick Chu's short video. Just after the police in the neighborhood left. But Choer quickened her pace towards home. Just because she sensed that the neighbor next door had emitted a special ability fluctuation. She is now being watched. Should she be forced to leave? But I feel a bit hesitant and unwilling. She used to be a game live streamer. But for some reason, she quit. If you go and pressure her directly, won't you just expose yourself? Choer fell into deep thought and remained silent for a moment. He felt that what he said made some sense. But looking at his reaction, could it be that people in this world still care about their neighbors' lives? Although I don't understand what otaku girl means, from Garrick Chu's description, it seems that the other party is also a pretty girl. She doesn't know why a trace of loss flashed through her heart. I said I would go work on writing first, but she grabbed my sleeve. I turned around in confusion. I found blush on her cheeks. Teach me a recipe from your place. This is the first time Cho has said such words to me. In shock, I still open the computer. I will teach you how to use Google. In the future, you can directly search for any unfamiliar terms or similar things. Cho's expression turned melancholic. You didn't tell me about this thing earlier. I thought your computer was just for writing books. I will continue to demonstrate to her. Enter how to make scrambled eggs with rice. A video will pop up here. But you shouldn't believe everything here. The information from different people online may vary. It's not authoritative enough and is provided for reference only. Unconsciously, I find myself getting closer to her. I can even smell the faint fragrance coming from her body. But Cho pushed me away. I get it now. You go take care of your own business first. I watched her with rapt attention. But I couldn't help feeling a little shaken. The attitude just now clearly indicates that I should be able to take advantage of it. For example, holding her little hand to operate the mouse. She is focused on learning and probably won't pay attention to this. While watching the man get up and leave, Cho's heart was extremely complicated. This guy is not the same as before. It's obvious that he has some ulterior motives. But why do I actually quite like having him around? She didn't research the recipe right away. Instead, she slowly tapped to see if she could transfer money without leaving a trace. But she stared at the incomprehensible information that popped up. However, she soon discovered that this thing called a computer is really useful. Even the world written by Garrick Chu can be found on web pages. She looked at the dagger left by the thief last night. She searched for information from the criminal's mouth again and heard about the miraculous nightclub. But the next moment, she widened her eyes in surprise. Her page displayed some strange things. How could anyone still like to wear this way? Exposed clothing was hung up. There's also something about slaves and such. It truly is the demon realm. But she couldn't suppress her curiosity. She made sure that Garrick Chu was not nearby. She still secretly turned on the computer. But the scene that caught her eye made her black out. How can people in this world? How can they play so openly? Does Garrick Chu look at these study materials every day? The girl is in her boyfriend's computer. She found a hidden folder. But after an afternoon of appreciation and learning, the girl became a little impatient and irritable. She even started to fight with the man. Originally, I only wrote 2.5 chapters. But the sky had already darkened. Before dinner, I'm going to stretch my muscles a bit. But as soon as I pushed the door, I saw Evermore Qiu holding a computer with a sly smile on his face, as if he had heard something outside the house. Qiu closed the computer with a hint of nervousness. I forgot about the time. It's time to cook. I can't believe our Sect master Qiu would also get so immersed in the internet and can't get out of it. But she still insists on being stubborn. No, I just learned a few more dishes. But I didn't expose her. Instead, I laid down on the ground. Qiu looked puzzled. It's only been a short while. Why are you exercising again? If someone with a special ability comes knocking again, and you happen to be cultivating, how should I protect you? Qiu was stunned for a moment. He intended to retort, but he couldn't bring himself to say the words. I don't need you to protect me. But she looked at the man's trembling appearance. She pursed her lips and remained silent for a while. In the end, she patted the sofa. Don't stand, sit over here. What are you talking about? But in a blink of an eye, I noticed that her cheeks had turned red. I will give you a blood circulation treatment. I noticed that the atmosphere was somewhat subtle and ambiguous. She pouted her lips. What expression is that? It's just to speed up your cultivation progress a bit. It's just a mundane body. Don't think too much. Then you made me run and exercise. Toss around for 2 days. She secretly turned her head. That's because she wants you to start from scratch in a down-to-earth manner. It's not good for your state of mind in the future if things are too easy. But I suddenly thought of something. Will this shorten the time you stay in this realm? Choer's eyes suddenly became evasive. So he cares so much about me staying here. But she still squeezed out a faint smile at me. No. But I really don't want to believe her nonsense. Forget it, I don't need it. I'll just practice by myself. In the next moment, I was lifted up by a small hand. Choer flipped me over on the sofa. She immediately rode on top of me. Fists rained down on my back. Letcher pretended otherwise, clearly wanting something. Still putting on a noble appearance. I don't need you to play the good guy. I shouted in pain. But for some reason, when her fist touched me, I lost strength instantly. Instead, a pure immortal spirit power entered my body, almost as if I were ascending to heaven. The sky darkens gradually. The lights inside are not turned on. I feel the jade-like hand behind me. At this moment, silence speaks louder than words. And meanwhile, at the other end of the city, Marcius Lin handed a printed document to the woman. The materials you requested are basically completed. The electronic document has been sent to your email. Ryugu looked at the document in her hand. She smiled lightly. Director Lin, there seems to be something missing here. We can't possibly have full control over every aspect of the case. Today we unexpectedly captured the phasing man. From his mouth, we only pried out some information about his identity and abilities, as well as the possibility of new characters emerging at any time. Ryugu's expression became serious. I am not referring to those. What you are referring to is... The woman's body slowly moved closer. Marcius Lin could even smell the fragrance on her body. I mean you, Director Lin. Or call you True Speaker? A woman in order to repay the overdue rent. This ancient girl not only cooks for me every day. She even offered to give me a massage. But her techniques were neither gentle nor skilled. She is nothing like the shy girl she used to be. I haven't had the chance to enjoy it yet. The weight pressing on me vanished in the next moment. Her intimate clothes are scattered on my back. The faint scent on the girl's body has long disappeared. I collapsed powerlessly. Choer has stayed for a long time this time. Still using mystical energy to cleanse my roots wantonly. The remaining energy naturally cannot be retained. On the other hand, Evermore Qiu is quietly meditating alone in his bedroom. Following Garrick Chu's style, she should be standing by the window gazing at the moon at this moment. However, she has a mischievous expression on her face. I refuse to do the same. What seems like a pressing situation is simply a way to heal emotional wounds. Clearly, it is very wrong that she would voluntarily come into physical contact with Skysong Chu. Why would the Grand Master of the Sect go there to help him cook? Knowing full well that he has ulterior motives, yet still enduring not to beat him up. Anyway, I have paid him back the money, feeling relieved. Choer thought to himself. But her expression unconsciously dimmed. I have to move on eventually. After all, computers are so much fun. I don't know what that guy would do without me by his side. He has gotten involved in gifted individual matters again. Could it be dangerous? And there is a pretty girl living right across from him. Could this lecher be motivated by lust? But she quickly sensed that something was amiss. Am I feeling jealous? Angered, she directly threw the teacup onto the table. How could I be jealous of a mere mortal? It must be that lecher adding some kind of setting for me. But after she cast the calming spell herself, not only did the sage mode not arrive, her sense of longing instead became even stronger. In fact, at this moment, she has already harbored thoughts on how to break free from the setting. She simply couldn't change her own temperament. And changing significant events will lead to self-correction in the world. But when did she unexpectedly become accustomed to the man she spent day and night with? Thinking of this, she still couldn't help but smile. Maybe I should try some special events that won't happen in Garrick Chu's book. I should start with the local. The countryside surrounds the city. At the same time, a hint of sadness emerges in my heart. I don't know when Choer will come again next time. There is still some mystical energy left in the body from before she left. Give me a little bit of mystical energy to cleanse my bones. Mystical energy flows through the meridians. It feels very real. The advantage is that I can even cultivate my own techniques that I once made up in a book. Evermore Qiu's book collection includes various immortal techniques originally designed to facilitate Skysong Qiu. At this point, it has given me an advantage. And special abilities, like those that allow one to pass through walls. In comparison to the Tao I described, it's not even worth mentioning. But I just don't know how much real spiritual energy is needed to support my cultivation to what extent. A strange thought arises in my mind. If I cultivate to perfection, can I forcibly leave Choer here forever? Memories of being with her keep flashing through my mind. I seem to be getting more and more used to her presence. I have some regrets for selflessly helping her understand the world. In case she becomes familiar with this world, and finds the spiritual energy here too thin, would she feel it unnecessary to stay here? Looking at her pajamas hanging on the hanger. I am just about to finish thinking. But my stomach growled. She left. And there's no one to cook for me. The girl went out late at night. But it was just to catch up with her girlfriend, who wasn't home. They are clearly neighbors. But at this moment, the two of them appear particularly estranged. If your girlfriend minds, I will move out in the next few days. It turns out that Choer has cleared my meridians for me. But she dissipated on my back, because she exhausted her energy. Feeling the faint scent of her left on my body. My heart feels lost. After I typed a few chapters, I only realized that my stomach was growling after typing a few chapters. But today, there's no one to do the laundry and cook for me. On the other side at the same time, Evermore Qiu poured tea with bare hands. Vermilion bird's flame feathers are now in the hands of the demonic Sect flame prison Sect. But at the sound of the Sect master speaking, the disciples below broke into a cold sweat. The Sect master's analysis is not without reason. Xander Blaze has a notorious reputation and a proud temperament. Sect master, do you have any assurance this time? And Evermore Qiu just smiled faintly. How can we know if we can win without trying? Elder also looked confused. How does Sect Master Qiu, who usually stays out of worldly conflicts? At this moment, however, he seems to be preparing to achieve some great accomplishment like those in the spring and autumn periods. But Choer's inner thoughts are not the same. The words she just said were entirely because of the storyline written by that man. She will resonate with the heavenly Tao's vow and enter into a covenant with Xander Blaze. Afterward, they achieve victory through extremely difficult battles. But why do I have to follow the plot written by Lecher? She will definitely go in this direction. But can the pattern be changed? Please trouble Elder Zhou for these days. Insert some nails to control secretly. Then secretly contact Ghostly Corpse Mountain, the Boneless Elder, and Xander Blaze, who have a grudge of killing each other. But Elder heard with eyes twitching. Is this the proud and aloof Evermore Qiu? The other me on the other side is getting ready to go out for exercise. But I just pushed the door open. I caught a glimpse of the neighbor girl peeking at me. She instinctively wanted to step back. But still she secretly followed as she watched the man's figure gradually move away. I just turned around and saw the girl who remained silent with her head down. I am looking for a house and will move out in a few days. I'm sorry for disturbing your lives. I wanted to respond, but she just turned her head and quickly ran away. Am I that scary? Hey! I realize this girl has found out something. It seems she is well aware of her own situation. The identity of the boxer has been exposed. She's doing fine. She is a reasonable person. Compared to that mother Tyrannosaurus Rex, who had a sword against my neck, this is nothing. Because of Chu's guidance, I woke up the next day feeling surprisingly energetic. And I just opened the back-end data of the article. I was so shocked that I couldn't say a word. In less than an hour, my favorites have reached over 1,000. It seems that changing the plot for Evermore Qiu has gained readers' approval. Could it be because of the appearance of the female lead, bringing luck to my side? The next plot is even more special. I don't know if I can write myself into the book. At this moment, Evermore Qiu stood at the top of the mountain, hands behind his back, looking up at the sky. But behind her stood a fierce giant of a man. Evermore Qiu, have you gone mad? Cultivating immortality is precisely to break through this world and crush all heavens. You actually told me that you want to communicate with heaven's doubt to constrain you and me. But the woman in front of you remains calm and composed. You will understand eventually. You have been communicating for a long time. You haven't even squeezed out a fart. Qiu did not speak, just glared fiercely at the demon lord. She turned around to continue looking at the sky. But she was cursing silently in her heart. Garrick Chu, what are you up to? Don't tell me you haven't written this part yet. You better write it quickly, you idiot. I'm being laughed at. At this moment, I am frantically writing in front of the computer. The space I am in still has no response. Could it be that I am not writing clearly enough? But as I press the enter key, my body, however, feels a tremendous pull. A strange yet familiar world appears before my eyes. And there is that slightly lonely figure. And a look of surprise appears on Qiu's face as well. Everyone present felt a vast and overwhelming pressure descending upon the sea of souls. Resonance seemed to echo deep within their souls.